All right. Good evening, family. It is that time. It is Friday once again. So happy to be here. So happy to be seen. So happy to be alive and above ground. Blessed by the best. Yes. Let me just make sure that everything is good. Get the technicalities going. Make sure that you can hear me, see me. So good. Yes. As always, I think we should be good on YouTube. Again, if you can hear me, see me, give me thumbs up, say something, let me know in the chat. And then from there, while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and check in over on the Facebook side and make sure our peeps at Facebook can join in on the chat and make sure that we are good. So give me a second. Yes. All right. Miss Payne gave me a thumbs up. Thank you for letting me know here. Yes, on my own again for tonight. Chris did want to come, and I was like, you know what? Maybe not tonight, because tonight is my job to focus on the comments. Since I'm answering questions, I really didn't see a really need for him to be here this evening because it's going to be all on me. Tonight's whole entire session is me focusing on comments, answering questions. So I told him to stay at home. That's why I got to pay him. Gave him a night off. But I do believe, based on the other content that's coming up, I will have him here because I'll be focusing more on the teaching side and won't be paying attention to the comments. So he'll be back, let's say next week here, doing that. All right, let's see here. Let me get this set. All right, so should be good on the Facebook side. Let me just, what am I looking to do? All right, so let me say hello to Facebook. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Friday night, friends and families, Financial Fridays. Good to have you here. Back here at YouTube, yes, so we should be good. Let me just double check something. All right. So as y'all come on in, get good to see you. First Lady Andre Ely, I see you. Thank you for joining in. So good to have somebody on the spiritual side here in the chat. So y'all, we got to be on our best behavior. My First Lady has entered in. Oh man. Again, I'm just going to double check the Facebook side and make sure that everything is good over there. As everybody come in, make sure you relax. Get a good cup of water. Come prepared with your questions this evening. And we'll have fun. All right, the music is done. That means it is time for me to start talking and start entertaining here. Again, welcome everybody to the Family Fun Financial Friday. So good to have you here. There we are. And I'm going to test one thing again. Give me a second. Oh, let me just say. Oh, no, don't want to do that. Don't you just hate autofill? Now, we'll do that. And double check and make sure that that shows. All right. Because I can never do it beforehand. So it's one of them things where I got to make sure that I do it while I'm live, right? So as suggest, say okay, turn on. There we are. All right. So now that we should be good with the Facebook, I'm good. And want to double check here. Make sure that shows. First, D-Tech says the sound is flawless. Thank you for that. I do appreciate it. So good to know that everything is flawless here. So, family, welcome, like I said, to yet another Friday. So glad to have you here. So glad to be here with you. Man, y'all are the absolute best. How have you been? How's everybody doing? Man, I see questions here. Good. I'm glad y'all asking questions because that is the whole entire reason for tonight, right? Like I've been lately just so busy, right? So much content coming out, Had guests come on here. Again, shout out to John. Shout out to Miss Gimme Cornbread for coming on here, just gracing us with their presence and, filling our minds with their knowledge. So much going on, so much of me teaching us to where I realized earlier this week that we haven't really connected. Like the reason I started this live stream way back when is so that we can, come together, connect, learn, right? Obviously. But one of the main goals was to interact, to be able to answer your questions, to be able to make sure that you are successfully set up, to make sure that you're good to go, right? And in these last couple of weeks, I haven't really been answering any questions, right? And I always go back and review the videos. I always go back just so I review just so I can make sure that, is there anything that I missed? Is there anything that I can improve on? Looking at the background, right? Trying to do different things just to, bring up production value. What else can I do better? And then I realized that in the chat, that there's questions, even though it may not be pertaining to what the subject for the night is, it's still a question, right? And I feel it only fair that I answer those questions. Like last week, I know I missed a couple of questions there, so I want to kind of address those tonight because they're good questions that other people may have, something of that nature. Again, which is why Nephew isn't here with me yet again tonight, because tonight I'm focusing solely on the chat myself. I want to be able to interact. I want to be able to engage. I want to be able to answer your questions. I'm slowed down, plenty of content, plenty of things I'm excited to talk about. Like even, I think I went back and watched the video where even Uncle Vin himself asked the question, what is the best bookkeeping software? And I want to be able to answer that. And I'm answering for you, but I'm going to do that in a whole video. Like one video that I'm working on developing right now is bookkeeping versus budgeting, right? Like, and in that video, which the experiment stage that I'm in now is those who tune in live, you'll be able to catch it firsthand, right? Like I'm gonna give it to you guys first, and then we can engage and ask questions about it as we go. But then I'm gonna remove it. Well, not remove it, but once the live ends, YouTube saves it, but it will no longer be available to the public, because once I engage and present it to those who were here live, it's going to turn into private, which means that only people with the link who will be able to see it. So if there was something in that video that you particularly like before I make it private, shoot me an email. I can shoot you the link, and then only you will be able to see it. But that's what's going to be happening going forward here. So, Unc, I heard you loud and clear. Going to make sure that I answer that question, which is going to be the best budgeting software, bookkeeping software. And I think that's an important question, especially when we seeing what's happened in 2020. A lot of companies couldn't get things together, couldn't get these loans, couldn't qualify for the PPP, the EIDL, because they didn't have their books in order, right? So it's a very important question to answer. How does the bookkeeping software really come into play? It's not, to me, it's no longer an option. If you have a business, if you're a serious business owner, having a bookkeeping software is no longer an option. It's a must-have, even if you're a sole proprietor. Okay, I know a lot of people think that, bookkeeping is reserved for the S Corp, C Corp, partnership, the big upper echelons of business. No, even for the sole proprietor, the one who's just beginning, I am just saying that bookkeeping is mandatory. Okay, so let's see here. Tonight is all about questions. But before we do that, you know what? I got to do the intro video. So let's do that, and then we'll come back. All right, that was the video. Yeah. So before I continue on, man, so for those who may just be joining this channel, may not know who I am, as it says right here, my name is Tyrone Gregory, your favorite uncle cousin, and you are live on the Self-Employed Tax Guys YouTube channel, where it is my goal to make you successfully self-employed, right? And tonight, again, is all about answering your questions. So let me go back to last week's video where one of our very own Miss Sketches to Design asked the question, or it really was a statement first, right? She said that this is the first time I will be filing taxes for my business as a sole proprietor. Do I file both the business and the personal at the same time? And that is an excellent question. So to rephrase, one of our very own family members, Miss Sketches to Design, asked the question, will make the statement, this is going to be her first year filing taxes as a sole proprietor. How does she do it? Is it going to be a business return or a personal return? And I'm glad she asked that, because that is a question that I get asked a lot, right? Like this, how do I file if I have a business? Is it separate? Do I file it together? What form do I use? How does this work? So let's go ahead and kind of get to that question. So I am going to share my screen with you guys here. So let me get to the desktop. So what you're looking at is the IRS 1040, but let me blow it up because I hate this small. There we go. If y'all blind like me, now we can see. So here's the 1040. This is the latest one, and we can see it right here for 2019. And again, this is answering the question, when you're a sole proprietor, okay, that's the key word here. Being a sole proprietor, how do you do it, file your taxes? So on the 1040, they changed it a little bit. And we've seen this numerous of times on this channel. But what I want to make sure that we understand is just the 1040 by itself is 2 pages, okay? But one thing we want to pay attention to is the fact that the 1040 has additional schedules. So we can see here, line 7 is other income from Schedule 1, line 9. So that means that even though the 1040 is its own form, there is additional schedules that must be attached to the 1040 if necessary, okay? Depending on, like, if you just have a W-2 and that's it, then the only form you need is the 1040. There is no additional schedules, right? That used to be the 1040 EZ, but now everything is just on one 1040. But again, if it's just you, one W-2, that's it. All you need is a 1040, no additional schedules except for your state, right? But that's not even with the 1040, that goes to the state. So the 1040, when we look at that, and again, I got this right from irs.gov. You can see I'm right here. I just pulled it right up. The Schedule 1, and let me go over here because that's here. Here's the Schedule 1 of the 1040. Additional income. So what happens when filling out the 1040, you would go as far as you can, right? Of course, you'd fill out your name, your address, and all that information, whether you're single, married, filing joint, whatever the filing status is. If you have dependents, you list them here. Your W-2 income, that's easy. You put this here, you know, all of that information. But as a sole proprietor, as we're going to see here on the Schedule 1, and this is where it kind of gets confusing, and I get it, because we go to the Schedule 1, and it says here, business income. Well, look what it says do. Attach a Schedule C. So even before you can fill out the Schedule 1, you have to go to the Schedule C as a sole proprietor. And here it is, the Schedule C. Again, we're no stranger to this form here. And you simply fill out, well, I can say simply, if you're familiar with it, you know, like Maria and myself, we are extremely familiar with it. This is what we do. You fill out the Schedule C information. You put your income here in 1 through 7, and then from 8 through 27A is where you enter your expenses. And then line 28 is your total expenses, and line 29 is your tentative profit and loss. But what happens here on line 31, okay, whatever number that is, whether it's a positive or negative, you're going to enter, right? If a positive, enter on both Schedule 1, right? So it says right here for the 1040 SR, or line 3 if you have the 1040 number. We ain't going to really get into that. So line 31, once we come up with a number, a net number, which is your income minus your expenses, that number is going to be here on line 31. And it can be negative or it can be positive. We're then going to transfer that number to line 3 of Schedule 1, okay? And then we'll total everything up and transfer that to line 9. And then from line 9, it goes over here to line 7 on the 1040. Yeah, I know that that's a lot, right? But to answer Miss Sketches to design is not, it definitely seemed like it's separate, like you're filing a separate return, but because all those form gets attached to the 1040, they consider it one filing, okay? So as a sole proprietor, there is no separate forms that you fill out. Everything, well, I mean, because it is technically separate, right? I mean, the Schedule C is separate from the 1040. The Schedule 1 is separate from the 1040. So technically, it is separate, but it still gets combined as one package presented to the IRS. So it's all on the same. Let's just say that. There is just additional schedules and things like that. It is all the same. But I do want to kind of, just to bring the point home, let me show you this. So again, that was the selection for the Schedule C, the sole proprietor. And let me also note that there's also the same for the single member LLC, okay? Let me say that. So if you're a sole proprietor, single member LLC, the process is the same. But let me show you this here. I'm sorry, that's the, what is this here? That's the Schedule 1. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to close out the Schedule C because we're no longer using that one. So here it is. This is for, as we can see, U.S. corporations. So this is for the C Corps, okay? The individuals who are incorporated at the state level. This is for C Corps. This is a separate form, different from the 1040. This is for, like I said, C corporations. They file their own tax return like we file our own tax return as individuals. This is not combined with the 1040. And this is where some people may get that confusion from, like, I'm a business, do I have to file a separate tax return? The only time you're going to do that is if you are a C Corp, is if you are taxed as an S Corp, or if you are a partnership. Those are the only 3 instances where you're going to have to file a completely separate form that goes to the IRS by itself. Those 3 instances, there is no form attached to a 1040. As we can see on the screen here, if you are a C Corp, you file an 1120S, and everything on this form gets sent to the IRS as its own individual tax return, okay? And just like any other form, if there needs something that can't be addressed here on the form itself, and we notice we have 6 pages for this one versus the 1040 only having 2. If there's something that needs to be attached from another form, like I said, we have 4797, which is a distribution of business assets. If we have to attach an 1125E for compensation of officers, again, this Schedule C is not the same Schedule C for the 1040. So even this form itself has additional schedules that can be attached and packaged as a bundle, but this does not get attached to a 1040, okay? If you are the sole owner of a corporation, then you're going to have to pay yourself a wage. The corporation pays you a wage, a W-2. You then report that wage on your own on your own 1040, right? So the corporation files its own tax return, pays you a wage. That wage then gets reported on your personal tax return. That's how that works. Same for the 1120. This one here is for the S corps. Oops, blew it up too big. This one here is for the S corps. This, just like the C corp, files its own individual tax return. Does not get packaged in with your 1040. Okay. The only difference is with an S corp, the S corp is going to kick out what is called a K1. The amount on the K1, that's what you package on your personal tax return. Also, as an S corp, you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. So therefore, you'll have a W-2 coming from the 1120S. You'll have a K1 coming from the 1120S. The W-2 and the K1, that's what gets packaged with your 1040. The 1120S is packaged and sent separately to the IRS. And lastly, here it is. If you are a partnership, meaning that you have more than one owner in a business, you're going to file a Form 1065. That is a separate form. It does not get packaged in with your 1040. It goes to the IRS all by itself. What comes from the 1065, because a partnership is two sole proprietors who've come together to make a business. So some of the sole proprietor rules still apply, but a lot of them don't. And what I mean by that is, as a 1065, you can't pay yourself a W-2 wage. So there is no W-2 coming from the 1065. However, there is a K1 coming from the 1065. So you take the K1 from the 1065, that is what you include on your 1040 and send it to the IRS when you are a partnership. So hope I didn't confuse you. Hope I didn't blow your mind there. But that is how, when you are a sole proprietor, again, everything is on the 1040, no separate forms, or should I say no individual forms, no 1120, no 1120S, no 1065. Everything is a package to you there. Okay. So now let me get to some of the comments here that I'm seeing showing up. First person, let's see here. Let me go back to the beginning because I think Bitcoin Life had a question, and let me send it to the screen here so we can all see what the question is. Oh, no, didn't want to see that. Give me a second here. Oh, there we are. Got to fix it so I can send everybody here. Trigger overlay 4. Well, without it coming here, let's do this. Let me just answer the question. Alrighty. It is going to be, there we are. Now we should see it. All right. Bitcoin Life says he has 3 questions, which is cool because tonight is all about answering your question. First, holding crypto more than a year, it's only 10% tax. As long as you don't move it to any cryptocurrency, it's not classed as a taxable event. All right, cryptocurrency. You know, just so you know, I actually got a whole video dedicated to cryptocurrency and how it's taxed from the IRS. So you can check that out. But I'm still going to answer the question. So when it comes to cryptocurrency, it is considered an investment, right? Or a capital asset. So in that case, anything held for more than a year, okay, more than a year. That's the key. If you hold it for exactly 365 days or 366 days in case of a leap year, that doesn't count. So you have to hold it for at least minimum 300, I'm going to just say 370 days. Let's just give that some cushion, right? That's what we don't want to play with. We want to make sure that we hold it more than a year. So if we hold it for more than a year, it does qualify for what's called the capital gains treatment. And what he was asking Bitcoin Life is it a 10% tax? So remember, capital gains, if held for more than a year, get special treatment, which meaning that the capital gain will be either zero tax, 10% tax, 15 or 20%, or maybe could be more depending on if you are a very high earner. So Bitcoin Life, what I'm saying is it all depends. That's a tax professional's favorite response. It all depends. Because in order for capital gains treatment to be taxed at 10%, your entire taxable income, including that Bitcoin transactions, has to put you in a 10% tax bracket. So as long as that Bitcoin transaction, along with every other taxable transaction, every other taxable income, whether that be W-2, self-employment, dividends, stocks, whatever, if that income puts you in a 10% tax bracket, then the most you're going to pay on your Bitcoin transaction is 10%. But here's the thing, right? Let's go down. Let's say if you have a Bitcoin transaction along with all of your other income and you have a 0% tax, like everything's zeroed out. You tell your taxable income is zero, then you pay zero tax on that Bitcoin transaction. So the capital gain treatment is very dependent upon what is your personal or your overall tax rate. Okay. The thing of it is we can see like you got the 0, 10, 15. So if your income puts you in a tax bracket between 0 and 10, the max you'll pay is 10%. Okay. So that's really how that works when it comes to Bitcoin. And then I said, I think your second question says, as long as you do not move any cryptocurrency, is not considered a taxable event. That's absolutely true. Cryptocurrency is just like any other investment. As long as it's sitting there accruing, growing, it's not a taxable event. It's when you cash out, right? When you take possession of it, when it changes your economic status financially. When that happens, that's what creates the taxable event. Okay. And I think you said your third question is that you purchased cryptocurrency mining equipment in 2018. Can it be used for a tax write-off? Excellent question. And the answer to that is it all depends on your intent. Intent is big for the IRS. If you purchased mining equipment for Bitcoin with the intent to start a business, like to sell Bitcoin on your own because you mine it, sell it, and that's your business model, then yes, it's 100% deductible. However, if you are purchased the mining equipment just for investing purposes, then it would not be deductible. So we can see like the intent or the reason why that was purchased is what's going to make the difference if it's deductible or not. Okay, so just, like I said, hey, what you say is what you can prove. I'm gonna say that. I'm just put that out there. Now, what I am gonna tell you is don't take that as a reason to go out there and try to be manipulative, right? We always want to be straight shooters. We don't want to manipulate and get ourselves in trouble. But it does depend what you say. What you can prove versus what you say. All right, so good question. I know I saw some other questions here. Let me get to it here. So Alicia Ringo asked, the question says, should the PPP be claimed as actual income or is it considered a grant? So here's the thing. Great question, Lee. I'm glad you asked it. The PPP is a loan, okay? It's not taxable, but it's also not a grant. And the reason it's not taxable as a loan is because you're paying it back, okay? Now, if you were to take the PPP loan and claim it as income, which I hope nobody did, that's just incorrect. At that point, you would pay tax on it, right? Because you would put it on your taxes. Hey, I received this income, but it's not income. It's not income. Income is something that is earned, right? Like you had to physically work for it to receive it, okay? In the accounting world, we call that revenue because it's a result of either a use of money or there was an exchange for a product or service for money, right? So because the PPP is none of that, is not considered income, therefore is not taxable. However, keep in mind, and this hasn't been clarified as of yet, or at least I haven't come across any clarification as of yet, but the funds, the expenses that was purchased with funds from the PPP, as of now, those funds cannot be deducted, right? Because it was pretty much essentially free income. So the IRS says, well, you know what? It's not money you earned. So you got free money and now you purchase stuff and you want to write it off. That's a double benefit. They're not allowing it. So keep that in mind for those of you who got the PPP. Be mindful, because if you purchased expenses with those PPP loans, you're not going to be able to write it off, which means your income is going to go up, right? You may be thinking like, oh yeah, I earned $100,000, but I didn't spend $50,000, so I'm only going to pay tax on $50,000. It's not going to work like that. If that $50,000 you spent on expenses was used with funds from a PPP, you can't write it off. At least as of this video, right? Things may change come December, come January. We're still getting updates about this forgiveness and things like that. So just be careful. If you have a tax professional, make sure you consult with them so you won't be shocked when you file taxes. So yeah, so definitely glad you asked that one. All right, let's see here. Yesenia asks, if you have earned over $400 in a side hustle, do you automatically owe the government? And if so, how much? Make sure you know what I'm not doing. Let me do this here. I forgot I had to. There's the question. I keep forgetting. I got to send these questions to the screen. If I have earned, right, over $400 in the side hustle, do you automatically owe the government? And if so, how much? So here's the deal. If you earned $400, the government, now let me make sure I'm clear with this. So if you do your taxes, right? Let's say you do the Schedule C, and you take the income and you subtract out the expensive, is line 31. If line 31 is $400 or less, then it is not subject to self-employment tax. Okay. And because it's not subject to self-employment tax, if that is your only source of income, meaning that you don't have a W-2, you don't have any other investment, you don't have any other income, then you're technically not even required to file taxes, okay? The opposite of that is if you do the Schedule C and you take all your income, subtract out your expenses, and line 31 is $401, $1. Yes, they are that petty, $1. Then yes, you will have to file taxes on that because you will be responsible for the self-employment tax. Okay, so $400 and less, no self-employment tax. 401 and above, you're paying self-employment tax. And let's not get that confused with the $600 threshold for the 1099 issuance. Okay, a lot of people get that confused. That's two separate things. If somebody pays you $600 or more in a year as an independent contractor, they are obligated to issue you a 1099 miscellaneous. That is separate from earning $400. Okay, two separate things. So I just want to make sure we clear that up. Again, Yesenia, thank you for asking that question. Let me go to the next and make sure I'm getting all questions this evening. All righty, let's see here. Alicia, another question here. Let me pull this one over to the screen. Says, is it correct to be a sole proprietor LLC if you make under 40,000? Is it correct to be a sole proprietor LLC if you make under 40,000? If not, what are the income guidelines for each entity? Oh, that is a good one. So, and I'm glad that you asked that. Again, Alicia, I really appreciate it because that's a great question. Finances, for me, right, from a tax perspective, and again, I say this again because I'm not afraid to admit it, that depending on who you ask, you're going to get different questions. If you ask a lawyer, you'll get a different response. If you ask a financial planner, you'll get a different response. You ask a CPA, different response. Everybody is going to give you a different response. So as a tax professional, okay, I'm not a lawyer. I don't really work in finances outside of, dealing with taxes and things like that. But as a tax professional, I really don't see a need to form an LLC unless you are dealing in some high risk type of business where there's a lot of litigation involved in that industry, or two, there's financial involved. And according to Alicia said, it's 40,000 that threshold. And I hate to say it, but I have to say it. The answer is, it depends. And the reason I say it depends is because there's a multitude of variables that we have to consider when trying to form an entity for purposes of saving taxes. One of the main things that we have to consider, because of course the ultimate goal is to save money in taxes. But if we're saving money in taxes and yet spending that money in administration fees, what's the point, right? You're putting in all this effort for nothing. That's my perception of it. So we have to consider everything. I just answered this question on the comment earlier where it was like, okay, if you form an LLC, consider your state fees, consider your maintenance, because I'm going to be honest with you, to form an LLC is easy, okay? It absolutely is. I wouldn't suggest paying LegalZoom or anybody else to form the LLC for you. If you really got to form an LLC, do it yourself and then hire legal to help you get your contracts in place, your operating agreement in place. Don't pay them to do it for you, because that you can do yourself inexpensively. Okay, so consider the price of forming the LLC, and not just forming it, maintaining it. Because a single member LLC, and here's where it really bothers me. A single member LLC is the same exact as a sole proprietor. Okay? The absolute same exact as a sole proprietor. So it amazes when people say, I'm going to form an LLC so I can do more. There is no more to do. Yes, there's that limited liability. There's the separation. But again, that can be curtailed by getting some business insurance, right? Consider what it takes to maintain the LLC, the state fees. And I say the price point, 40,000, it depends, because if you're doing everything yourself, if you're doing the bookkeeping yourself, if you're doing the payroll yourself, if you're doing the estimated taxes yourself, if you're doing it yourself, then 40,000 may work because you're not spending money hiring somebody to run the back end of this corporation, the LLC. So again, 40,000 may work at that point. But if you can't do it, or if you don't know how to do it, or you don't have the time to do it, and you have to hire somebody to manage this, is that going to, again, they may save you money in taxes, right? Because as a LLC taxed as an S corp, there's a lot of things you can do to save money in taxes. But if you don't know how to do that and you hire somebody to do that, they're not going to do it for free. So it's going to cost you. You're going to have to pay them to do it. And if the amount that you have to pay them is the same amount that you're going to save, then, it may not be worth it, right? So my favorite line is, run them numbers. Run the numbers, right? Sit down with somebody and see if at 40,000, how much would I save in taxes? How much would I spend in administration fees? And would the two break me even, or would there be some savings there? Run the numbers, and then, from there, you'll be able to see. But again, that's a good question. I know that's something that a lot of people have. As a matter of fact, somebody said, you know what? I'm glad you brought it. I'm going to show y'all something. I'm going to pull this up on the screen here. And let me share my desktop. This is somebody sent me this, right? Because they know how I feel about people spewing LLCs and misleading people. So somebody sent me this TikTok yesterday morning. Just threw my day off because I was upset, man. I feel like somebody tied me in a chair behind, with the hands behind my back and was just slapping me, and I couldn't do nothing. I was getting afraid because I don't know how to respond to this, right? But let me press unmute it so you'll hear what this gentleman is saying about an LLC. Is it working? Is it loud here? I don't know if we can actually hear
Anybody that comes to your house for business can use the bathroom, wipe your toilet paper off, your soap, maybe a case of water or 2 or 7. Look into why someone's not paying something before saying they should. Hope this helped. If you're mad about Trump not paying taxes, if you're mad about Trump lowering taxes for the rich and the companies, listen, do you want to have those benefits? I'll tell you how to get them. Open up an LLC, limited liability company. But John, I don't have a business. Open up a lawn business that cuts your own lawn every week. Doesn't matter. Run some revenue through it. Pay yourself $20 a week to cut your lawn. Pay it through your company. You have a home office, right? You do your taxes in your kitchen. You file paperwork in your kitchen. That's your home office. You got to have clothes to wear while you're mowing. That's your uniform. This can go on and on and on. Guess what you do now? Part of your mortgage, you can write off. Part of your rent, if you're renting, you can write off. Your cell phone to take calls, write off. Your lawnmower, your car, write-offs. It's all cost of doing business. Open up your business bank account. File your taxes under an EIN rather than your social security number if you would like, or you can do it on your social, your choice. Well, you got to have a bathroom at your home office, right? So you got to write off some toilet paper because you got to make sure anybody that comes to your house for business can use the bathroom. Write your toilet paper off, your soap, maybe a case of water or 2 or 7. Look into why someone's not paying something before saying they should. Hope this helped. If you're mad about Trump not paying taxes, if you're mad about Trump
Anyway, so we can see. That's what's happening in the world of social media and LLCs. People are just telling people to do it. And I mean, I get what the gentleman was trying to do. And that's why I don't always combat every video that I see everybody send me. Because I think that people have good intent. People want people to be successful. They want them to save. They want them to win, right? But I don't even want to talk. Okay, I ain't gonna even talk. Let's see here. Hopefully we caught that. All right, so let me get back to the videos here. All right. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss anything here. Going back to some comments. Main question, we answered that one. All right, want to make sure. Okay. Let's see. I'm starting a hobby in crypto. Oh, let's see here. Here's a good one to send here. D-Tech says, starting a hobby in crypto mining and want to keep my tax issues in order and also want to protect my PC hardware protected. Should I consider an LLC? Well, D-Tech, glad you asked that question. Matter of fact, let me put that back out here because there's something you said that's really important. And what you said, where am I in the screen? Right here. That word, hobby, that word right there, hobby, is something that's very interesting because if you are a hobby, again, like I just said previously, intent, they look at the intent. What is the purpose? IRS does not allow hobbies to deduct anything the same way a business does. So if you are forming this as a hobby, then it would be pointless to get an LLC because a hobby and an LLC denote two different things. A hobby hobbies make money, right? Let me say that hobbies do make money. Okay. It is just happenstance type of money. So the IRS doesn't look at that as somebody being intentful or being purposeful. So therefore the expenses associated with a hobby are treated entirely differently. As a matter of fact, the hobby income gets reported in full on the 1040. The expenses of the hobby has to go on a Schedule A, itemized deductions. And if the hobby expenses are more than your standard deduction, then you just lose them. Okay, so that's the first thing to note. Hobby different from business. Forming an LLC for cryptocurrency is kind of interesting. I say that because in certain financial realms, if there's, we look at talking about protection and things like that, investors and LLC, the law is treated differently in the court. So having an LLC may not protect you the way that you think is going to protect you for Bitcoin, because it's an investment and the investments have a completely different approach in the court. As a matter of fact, they, sometimes even have to spend more. I remember reading something recently where, financial investments, cryptocurrency, stocks, bonds, and all that good stuff, it just don't fare well for them in LLCs in court. So definitely double check that. Do some further research on that, because like I said, the LLC route may not be. If you're concerned about protection, I would say look into some business insurance, but I'm not even sure if you're doing it as a hobby and it's not a business, would business insurance even work? But still, look into insurance and then add an umbrella policy to cover your PC, right? Because I'm pretty sure when it comes to crypto and mining, the PC, the software, the hardware, all of that is definitely good to go. So again, I wouldn't consider an LLC for it. If you're going to be a business, not a hobby, then look into business insurance and go from there. As a hobby, yeah, there's pretty much nothing you can do. So hopefully that answered that question and be good there. Okay. Let's see here. Let me go back down, make sure. Where we at here? All right. Let's see. I see some comments again. I'm just saying here. Let me say this one here. Natalie! Now, I don't know if you've been paying attention, Natalie, but this whole time, man, my lips have been suffering, Natalie. I didn't grab my chapstick or crust, so we need you to hurry up now. I need you to hurry up, Natalie. Wasn't it supposed to be ready, Natalie, this week? Wasn't it supposed to be the website and everything? Didn't Natalie tell us last week that everything was going to be done this week? So, Natalie, what's going on? We need to see. I think Miss Gimme Cornbread called her out anyway. She's supposed to be on here. The challenge to be on here with us and tell us all about that. But she asked the question, why do sole proprietors pay monthly taxes, or is that for something else? Great question. Sole proprietors, because let me say this. The IRS, right, are the reason, I can't say the reason, but our entire tax system is a pay-as-you-go system, okay? We are supposed to, as soon as we receive money, we are supposed to pay it, tax, right? That's the system that we have on. The minute you receive a dime, you are supposed to pay tax on it. Pay as you go. When you are a W-2 employee, that happens automatically, right? So when you work in corporate, you get your W-2, taxes are automatically withheld. You do nothing. It's done for you through withholding. As a sole proprietor, that's all on you, okay? As a sole proprietor, we're still obligated and held by the pay-as-you-go system. So therefore, we have to pay our taxes the same as a W-2 employee. We just do it through what's called quarterly estimated payments, okay? That's how we pay as we go. The government doesn't expect it like, okay, yeah, I earned $50. Let me figure my tax, write them a check the same day. No, they say, you know what? Do it every quarter. Okay? You still got to do it. Just do it every quarter. And the thing of it is, and here's what we don't realize, and because they technically don't enforce it as much, okay? That if we don't pay our quarterly estimated taxes as sole proprietors, if we don't do what we're supposed to, we can get hit with a penalty. I've seen it happen once in my career where they paid quarterly estimated taxes maybe once or twice, but they still ended up owing more than $1,000. And that's the key. I'm gonna put an asterisk and some air quotes right there. That's only when you owe $1,000 or more does this happen. But they paid quarterly, right? They did it sporadically, didn't do it like they were supposed to. Still ended up owing more than $1,000, and the IRS hit them with a failure to pay penalty. Okay, there's one of the two. You get a failure to file penalty, and then there's the failure to pay penalty, because the IRS says that you should know that this is a pay-as-you-go system, and therefore you should have paid the proper amount and not ended up with this big balance due, right? And so they penalize because of that. So that's why we pay, Natalie, definitely. All right, let's see here. What is a good price? Let me send this here. Chris B asks, what is a good price for business insurance? I'm starting off as a sole proprietor online jewelry business. What I was quoted feels high for me not to have any revenue yet. 45. Chris B, is that $45 a month that you were quoted, or is that $45 for the year? So a good price, and that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. A good price for some business insurance, it all depends on the business. They may think because it's jewelry, jewelry is high, right? It's cost. So insurance on jewelry can get rather expensive. But if you're selling maybe like a costume jewelry or something like that, then that's something different. So maybe they didn't understand that the various types of jewelry that you were trying to sell, and that's probably why they quoted you high. But definitely when it comes to business insurance, like anything else, shop around. Me personally, I use Hiscox, Hiscox. I'll make sure that I put a link in the description to them. That's who I use for my business insurance. And just to kind of give you a general idea, like, so for this office space, I had to have $1 million insurance policy. Okay, in order for them to lease this building to me, I had to have $1 million insurance policy. And I was like, Lord, $1 million, this is gonna cost me. But really, I think I only pay like $500 for the year. And they break that down into like $45 payment. I think I put like $100 or so down, and I'm paying $45 a month. I mean, for $1 million insurance coverage, that's beautiful. So to me, that's good, right? I'm satisfied with that. I'm extremely happy, right? If something happened, I'm covered up to $1 million, and I only pay $500. That's a no-brainer for me. But that's for me, my business, and my industry. It may be something completely different for you, but I do advise to go back, make sure they understand that the type of jewelry that you're insuring, and if it is the type of jewelry that these rappers be wearing, that kind of insurance can cost, right? So be mindful of that. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Going back here. What's horrible? Somebody said it's horrible. What did I miss? Let me go back. Hey, Auntie Builder, the builder says, great teaching. Thank you, Auntie Gail. Good to see you. I'm going to send this out here. Thank you, Maria, for helping with that. Take the tax course, finished it in a week, and it blew my mind. Yes, thank you. I had to put that out there because, that's me. That's my course. Thank you, Maria, for going through it. I appreciate it. Me and her had a good time helping me out there. Let's see here. I want to make sure that I'm not missing something. Should sole proprietors, I know Alicia asked, should sole proprietors pay monthly taxes? Hopefully I just answered that with Natalie's question. Let's see here. Chantel has a good question here. It will be my first time filing taxes as a sole proprietor. Do you suggest I use a tax professional for the first time to make sure it's done correctly? That is a great question, Chantel. I'm a little biased though, because I believe it depends on your situation, right? I'm a fan of the DIY. I encourage DIY, right? That's just the argument that me and my wife get into all the time. Like, you have a tax business, but you always telling people to do it themselves. You know, I just love the individual who can do it themselves, right? That's me starting this tax business is just a happenstance of me wanting to help people. So if you're not comfortable, by all means, go to a professional, get it done right. You know, hopefully they're the type of professional that's explaining things, helping you understand what's happening. They're asking questions, doing a little bit of tax planning for things like that. That's good. But if it's the simplest thing and then you just started, you really don't have a lot going on, you can save money by doing, you know, TurboTax and H&R Block. Even H&R Block has an online software, things like that you can use. So again, if you're not comfortable, by all means, definitely go see a professional, because you don't want to get nervous, mess something up, miss out on something and things like that. But it's optional, okay? Oh, look at that. Mom's is in the building. Says, can't read the question. The screen is blurry. Hopefully that is fixed. Okay. Let's see here. Romika Gaston, good question here. Says, can partnering with your local SBA be a cost-cutting option for starting a business? Great question, Ms. Gaston. Thank you for asking it. It could save you time, right? Like we talked about last week, you know, you have to know the value of your time. And that will help you determine if you do it yourself, are you wasting money or saving money. You have to know the value of your time. Partnering with the SBA, it can save you time, which again, if you know the value of your time, could save you money, okay? But specifically partnering with them, it's like that they're not going to give you any money. They're not going to give you anything. They may be able to help you fill out paperwork for an SBA loan, right? But as far as cost cutting, no, you're still going to have to invest for your business, depending on what it is you're doing, okay? So, yeah. Oh, good. Okay, so let's see. I want to go back here. All right. Ooh, Alicia got some good questions coming in there. Keep them coming. Ms. Ringo says, if I want to hire my family member part-time, how do I pay them? Would it be as a 1099 or a W-2? I'm a sole proprietor of a home child care. Never had help before. Great question, Alicia. Hiring your family. When we say family, who? Right? You need to go back and watch that episode of Family, Friends, and Business. Do they mix? Go back and watch that one before you think about hiring your family. You know, my guest that day, John Phillips of Create Simple Meals, gave us some good insight. But I will say this, depending on where you are, right? Because you can hire your children, okay? You can hire your children of any age to work in your business as a sole proprietor. And you can pay them W-2. There's no Social Security. There is no Medicare. There is no federal tax you even have to give them. You just hire them and pay them W-2 and you get to write that off. If you're hiring a family member that is not your son or daughter, say, for example, your spouse, maybe a cousin or something like that, that's fine. You can hire them. Now, here in California, we have something called AB5, which dictates whether we can hire somebody as a 1099 or W-2. If you're not in California, you don't have to worry about that. If you are in California, then you have to consider the AB5, because that will tell you how you can hire them, okay? But in any case, again, not in California, sure, have them fill out what's called a Form W-9. You keep that for your records, you pay them, and at the end of the year, you tally how much you pay them and you issue them a 1099. And then you write that off on your taxes. Cool? Simple as that. All right. So let's see here. There's people mind. OMG, this is so wrong. Yes, it does confuse the people. Let's see here. Oh, man, it's 7 o'clock. Y'all, we done talked all the way here, but that's all right. I'm going to keep going if y'all want to keep going. I'm good. Uh, let's see here. Chris clarified and said that it is homemade jewelry. Okay, Chris B. Then I would call the insurance companies and let them know that it's not the jewelry that these entertainers are wearing around their neck. So the insurance really shouldn't be that much. Okay. Let's see here. If I mispronounce the name, please forgive me, but it says Flavi, right? I'm starting my online business. I am registered yet as a company. What is the best company that you advise me to register for? And what do you need to collect taxes? So starting an online business, not registered yet as a company. So if you're asking if my opinion is sole proprietor, LLC, C Corp, S Corp, I'm a fan of the sole proprietor. And there's a reason for that, right? I just finished putting together this video I'm doing for the sole proprietor. I'm waiting on my cape to come in because I'm gonna wear a cape in that video because the sole proprietor is my superhero. So I'm always of the opinion, keyword start as a sole proprietor. And then as your business grows and you start to see significant profits, then consider switching to a different type of entity, because you don't want to spend all this money dumping all this cash into an entity and it does nothing for you. In the very beginning of business, the single most important thing to your business outside of gathering clients is cash flow. You want to make sure that you have cash flow, and dumping it into something that's not going to be useful is a waste of that. Okay. So hopefully I answered that question. If I did not pronounce the name wrong, please forgive me. I apologize. Let's see here. Another great question from Lisa says, what percent should sole proprietors put aside for both federal and state taxes? Love that question. And the reason I love that question because the common most answer to that is always 30%. And I'm like, where did that number come from? Like who told y'all to put away 30%? Like who figures that 30% is the best number? And here's the reason why I don't like just a round number, because I like to be financially efficient. What if 30% is too much, right? That means you're giving away your money that you could have used. And I just said, cash flow is the single most important thing. So I don't always like 30%. Therefore, I'm going to suggest that you, on a quarterly basis, this is where the quarterly estimated taxes come from. Don't set aside anything. Pay as you go, okay? If you do your taxes on a quarterly basis, there is no guessing. You will know exactly how much you owe, okay? Quarterly estimated taxes takes out the guesswork. If between January, because the quarter is every 3 months, right? So between January 1st, March 31st, how much did I earn? How much did I spend? So if I earned $50,000 and I spent $30,000, that's a $20,000 that I have left to pay tax on. Let me do the math on that $20,000. Now I know exactly how much to pay. I just ain't gonna set aside 30%. I may only need 10%. That means that's 20% of my money that I done gave away for nothing, and I gotta wait till the end of the year to get it back. I don't like that, right? So it kills me when people say, yeah, be on the safe side, set aside 30%. No, be on the exact side. Do your taxes quarterly, know what you're supposed to pay, and be done with it. All right, great question, though. I appreciate that. So let's see here. I'm seeing this here. Oh, here's John, right? Cussing on live. Family, treat them as strangers and pay them like everyone and fire them like everyone else unless it's your kids. That's why I said if you were considering hiring family, definitely go check out that video with John that says friends, family, and business, should they mix? You can see the person who just commented. That's the person who's in that video. So we'll check that out. Let's see here. Miss Brilliance, technical writing, says, does the technical writing business need insurance? Guessing yes. You know, great question. Glad you asked. And I am going to say, not really, but if you wanted to get insurance, there is a specific type of insurance you'd want to get, and it's called professional liability insurance. It's different, it's slightly different than business insurance. Professional liability is because you're dealing with, paperwork, contracts, delivering service to people. It would cover you if there's something not met in the contract. Remember, that's one of those kind of liabilities that we worry about. There's three types of liability. There's contractual, criminal, and tort. The professional would cover the contractual liability, and that should be very low, right? Like you can pay a small amount, and that would cover you for like 5 years or something like that. Also look into errors and omission insurance, again, because we're dealing with contracts and things like that. So you can get it. It's good to have. It covers contracts, but is it needed? Not necessarily, right? As long as the contracts, and I have faith that your contracts are as good as you are. But if you're ever worried about it, professional liability insurance would definitely be the way to go. Okay. Let's see here. Said, Crazy Chick asked a question that says, if you haven't been doing the quarterly and if you haven't registered your business, can you register and use your EIN retroactively to pay taxes on earned income, or should I just pay under Social Security? Great question, Crazy Chick. I hope that name don't really mean that you're crazy, but great question. So you can pay taxes on, so if you started your business at the first of the year, right? Can you go back retroactively? No. Okay, because the IRS said in that quarter, because that's how they look at it. I'm only speaking on how the IRS may look at it. You can, if you want to. Let me say that, but I'm only speaking on how the IRS may look at it. If you haven't been paying it quarterly and you've already missed, well, we're probably in the last quarter now, right? So if you haven't paid the first 3 quarters, yeah, you can send in one lump sum and make that payment before the next one, before April 15th. They may or may not penalize you for that, depending, right? Like I say, sometimes they enforce it, sometimes they don't. But do note that they can, because the payments were not made in the appropriate time frame. If you are a sole proprietor, they prefer that you use your Social Security number. The only time they want you to use an EIN is if you have actual employees. Okay, so hopefully I haven't done that. Okie dokie. Let's see here. My girl Maria. 401k withdrawals for this year due to the pandemic, no 10% penalty. How that works on taxes. Yes, that is absolutely true. So government has, normally if you take out of your retirement account before age 59 and a half, or before, I forget what the other one is, but if you take it out early, you pay taxes and 10%. Well, due to the pandemic, they have put a little clause in place that says you can remove that from your 401k and they won't charge you the 10% penalty. That's not to say that they will not charge you federal tax. If you take out $100,000 from your 401k, trust and believe that $100,000 is going to be added to your taxable income and you'll pay tax on it. You just won't pay the penalty of the 10%. Now, how that works, Maria, we don't know just yet because it just happened this year. So I'm sure there's going to be something on the next year's taxes, like a little box to check that says that there is an exception because this was used for the pandemic. Kind of like the first-time home buyers exception. We just check a box and say, yeah, this was used for the first-time home buyer, so there's no 10% penalty. I'm sure that's how it's going to happen. It's going to be a check the box. So yes. I think that's that, man. Yeah, it's 7:10 already. We've been answering questions. Thank y'all so very much. I see one more question. I think I'll answer that. Let me send it here again from Chantel. Ms. Atkins says, I'm starting a custom t-shirt company. how will taxes work and customers being charged sales tax and me having to pay, okay, when there's no tax on purchasing clothing under a certain amount. Great question. And what Ms. Atkins is asking is pertaining to sales tax. And I have a video for that. Of course, I pretty much try to answer everything in the video as much as possible. I have a whole video on sales tax for online retailers explaining how sales tax works across different states, thanks to Wayfair versus South Dakota, which was the Supreme Court case that changed the landscape for sales tax. So, to answer the question, a t-shirt is something that there is sales tax on. So I don't know what state you're in. There is 5 states that don't have a sales tax. So if you're in one of them 5 states that don't have a sales tax, you don't have to worry about it. But if you are in the other 45 states that has a sales tax, then you'd have to register for the sales tax department, get a seller's permit, which is 2 things. It allows you to buy your shirts at wholesale, the way you don't have to pay tax. But when you sell it, you will have to collect the tax from the consumer and then send that tax over to the collecting agency. Okay, that's how that works. So again, you get a seller's permit. It allows you to buy things at wholesale and you don't have to pay tax on it. But when you do sell it, you charge the consumer the tax. You collect that tax. It's not yours. You send it over to the government agency that's responsible for that. And yeah, that's how that works. For a good resource, there's Avalara, AVALARA.com. They have a lot of information about sales tax for each state. As a matter of fact, you can go to their website and there's like a link for a resource and you can click on each of the different states and it will tell you how much you need to have in sales before they start collecting sales tax, or how do you register in that state, or what that sales tax is. I mean, it's a great company, great resources. I recommend them, and we good to go. There you go, John. Always trying to get around something. Can you sell and not tax? John, what are you trying to sell and not pay taxes on? You know, that's something we gonna have offline. You are, I guess you say as your tax professional, my job is just to keep you out of jail, huh? But you are trying to sell some and not tax. But to John's question, there are some items that are not subject to sales tax for now, right? Like, very interesting, in Nevada, you know, certain feminine products are not subject to sales tax. So it's very interesting that there are certain things that we can sell that's not subject to sales tax. So that's it for me. I am 13 minutes behind. Man, y'all have been great. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for reconnecting. Thank you for everything, man. I had such a great one. Appreciate everybody who is here. Again, if you're on Facebook, make sure that you follow me, give a thumbs up. On social media, follow me on Instagram. I don't know other ones, right? Because I'm already trying to do my best, trying to be creative on Instagram. Like, what do I do? My life really ain't that exciting. And if you're here watching this for the first time on YouTube, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, the bell icon, so you can be notified of next week. And that is it for me, my beautiful, lovely people. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. And I am just making sure everybody's saying good night. We good? Okay, answer some questions. Chantel said, I am in New York. Well, you definitely. New York is one of them ones, they want their money, right? So they gonna want everything. So you definitely better register with the sales tax in New York and be good for that. All right. So again, appreciate all of you being here. Know that I love you. Know that my goal for you is to be successfully, it says it here, right? Successfully self-employed. I can't talk. I'm sounding like Sylvester the Cat right now. It's Natalie's fault because she hasn't did what she need to do so I can get something on my lips and they dry right now. Blame it on Natalie. All right. Anyway, man, y'all go ahead. Have a good evening. Have a great weekend. Any questions? By all means, I love these Q&As, man. It helps keep me fresh. I love informing everybody. Mr. Kelly, I see you here. in the chat, waiting on you to come down and bring me some of that good catered food you got. And until next week, man, y'all make sure that y'all do everything to stay profitable. Keep your mind sharp. Watch out for the manipulation. If you have any questions, if something is confusing you, by all means, let me know. As a matter of fact, I want to know right now, before I hit this end button, and you can leave it in the comments, and we'll talk about it. What is the greatest challenge that you are facing right now? Like, what is challenging you right now? What is the one thing that you are facing that is the biggest challenge for you right now? Let's talk about it. All right, I want to be able to make sure. Let's do like a coaching session maybe next week or something like that. But if there's something that's really challenging you, something that has you stuck, let's discuss it. All right. All right, my good family, I love you once again. I know I just said it all night long, but just know that I really do appreciate you. Love you being here, man. And I will see you guys next week. Peace.